What's up, everybody? This is Fred Ricciani of TSC News. I am right here with my man Scott Anderson. We are getting ready to preview and predict the WWE Fastlane pay-per-view taking place this Sunday in Milwaukee. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus Braun the Strowman, Goldberg versus Kevin Owens, Charlotte versus Bayley, and much, much more. Unfortunately, my camera equipment was having a bit of a malfunction at the junction before I was set to go live. So I said, to hell with it. Let's put on some WWE Fastlane footage courtesy of WWE 2K17, and let's preview and predict this ish. Scott, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Been a little while since we've been together, but things have been going good. Nothing to complain about. I think what happened with your equipment was Braun and Roman got a hold of it from Monday night, and the rest is history there.
That's true. Or you know what? Maybe Baron Corbin and Dean Ambrose were brawling near my studio, and Baron Corbin threw Dean Ambrose into the equipment, and it sparked, and that's what happened. Although we should be good for Sunday, and we should be good for Saturday. Saturday, of course, is the big UFC event with Tyron Woodley defending his title yet again against Wonderboy Thompson. And it's going to be Tony Ferguson against Khabib Nurmagomedov. And if you're an MMA fan, whew, going to be some action. We also had the MMA news, the huge MMA news, which I think also transcends pro wrestling, which is GSP, who was more or less UFC's John Cena of Canada back in the day. He's returning to fight Michael Bisping at a later date, and they're going to be talking about it at a press event on Friday. So very, very interesting stuff. And Michael Bisping, of course, is kind of like that classic evil British pro wrestling heel. Should be interesting, although I'm not going to lie. I'm not really feeling that fight for George. On paper, it looks like an easy fight for him if you're judging the Michael Bisping of like 2013. But the Michael Bisping that beat Luke Rockhold and Dan Henderson and Anderson Silva, and GSP with the 4-year layoff. I mean, this ain't Goldberg coming back and beating Brock Lesnar in 2 minutes. I'll tell you that much. I could be wrong, but I don't get that feeling. But anyway, we have plenty of time to talk about GSP's return. Right now, we're going to talk about WWE Fastlane. First of all, Scott, what have you thought about the Fastlane build-up up to this point?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. Unfortunately, the way WWE is now with the brand splits, they don't generally have a lot of time in between shows to build. This show had, about 4 to 5 weeks, which was a good build, but they still just kept adding matches as of even this past Monday night. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. I still like, I'm old school with it. I like the fact, you build it up for weeks and weeks and weeks and you go from there. But, times have changed. They've done a good job building up the Roman Braun Strowman match. Good job with the Goldberg and Owens match, considering Goldberg's not full-time. They've done a decent job with the women's match. So, all in all, not too bad.
Not too bad, and it looks like they're going to be setting up Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair versus Bayley at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship. Nia Jax is wrestling Sasha again because they had such a great match last time. And we also have Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn, which, if given the time, should be one hell of a match. And I think given the fact that we're having Braun versus Roman, and no disrespect to Braun, I think he's significantly improved, but he's a guy that, you don't expect him to go 15, 20 minutes.
Not with a guy like Roman, no.
Yeah, chances are that match is going to be on the short side. Goldberg versus Kevin Owens, based on what we've seen with Goldberg, that's going to be on the short side. So you're going to need some matches to make up that time. I think Charlotte and Bayley will get plenty of time. I would like to see Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn get plenty of time. Man, I wish they gave Cesaro and Samoa Joe like 20 minutes. I know Samoa Joe has not really delivered as of late when it comes to NXT, and he's been slowed down, and he's older now. He's in his late 30s and all that jazz. But I do feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I do feel like he was kind of in that Nakamura position right now where they've been in NXT longer than they expected. You feel a little malaise, a little bit of a meh feeling from them. And now that Joe's on the main roster, and not just on the main roster, but thrust into a prominent position with Triple H, I feel like it's not giving him a fountain of youth, but it's definitely rejuvenated him.
Yeah, I agree. I think, he knew his time was coming to be on the main roster, and I think that, his matches may have reflected that a little bit, and that's okay. You don't want... Look, here's the thing. NXT even as well has a very tough schedule, just like the main roster does, and you don't want to go. Sometimes NXT runs these, 200-300 seat shows, and you don't want to risk injury on a match like that to hurt your chances going to the main roster. Plain and simple.
That is true, and I think Samoa Joe is in a great position now because he's a guy to me that I could see being the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Maybe having it come down to him and Braun Strowman. Maybe he has some interaction with Seth Rollins. There was a lot going on Monday Night Raw.
There was even more going on SmackDown, though, I think.
Oh, my God. Yeah, well, before we get to Fastlane, maybe we should talk a little bit about what happened on Raw. We had a contract signing with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns because Braun Strowman in his head believes that Roman Reigns doesn't really want to fight him, so he wants to make sure he doesn't back out of his competition.
Yeah, this might be the first time that I can remember WWE's had a contract signing for a match that did not have a title or stipulation involved.
It was weird, and before that, Braun was burying Mick Foley. This episode of Raw should have been called The Burial of Mick Foley. It just consists of Mick Foley in his horrible wardrobe getting buried by Stephanie McMahon, getting buried by Braun Strowman, getting him burying himself, saying, "Oh, I guess I'm not long for this job." It was just so embarrassing. And
even Samoa Joe had a shot on him, yeah.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about it and saying, and look, I hope Mick Foley continues to live a healthy life, and he looks great. He's lost a ton of weight, but let's face it, a lot of these legends are dying, man. And the last thing I think WWE needs to be doing is disrespecting its legends, even in storyline. I just feel like it's too much. They do it all the time, and before you know it, Roddy Piper's gone. Dusty Rhodes is gone. God forbid, we lose a guy like Ric Flair or something. I mean, there's a lot of these legends that are dying on us, and they're not getting any younger. And I think when these legends are on TV, they got to be treated with some modicum of respect.
No, absolutely. I think, to me, the one that always sticks out in my head was back in the takeover of ECW, WCW with Stephanie and Paul Heyman, when Stephanie looked right at classy Freddie Blassie in his wheelchair, and he was already, put in pretty bad shape, and said something to the effect of, I can't wait till you die, or, I can't. It's a long time ago, but still, that same moniker.
Oh yeah, I remember.
There's no need for that, not for somebody like that. Come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they always do this.
But this is what they do.
Yeah,
they
bring back
legends.
They
did it with the Bellas, they do it with the older, legends. It doesn't matter.
They bring these legends back. They make them look like asses. They'll make fun of them, or at best they'll put them in comedy segments. Even a guy like Shawn Michaels, they'll put him in like a comedy segment. And then when they bring him back to try to sell an angle, like Mick Foley, and it doesn't get over, they wonder why. Well, that's why. And I remember when they used to bring back Mick Foley every year or every couple years, and he'd cut a big promo to hype up a match. I think the one of his best promos as a non-wrestler was when right before Edge was supposed to wrestle The Undertaker at SummerSlam. Oh wait, Hell in a Cell. And he cut this epic promo and talked about how that match changes his life. He was never the same again, and he doesn't know if Edge can handle it. And then Edge went crazy and speared Mick Foley and put him through a table, and it unleashed this like crazy side of Edge's character and advanced the story, which was so freaking awesome. I mean, man, like that was a great use of Mick Foley. Piper's Pit back in the day was a great use of Roddy Piper. God rest his soul. And I feel like now, it's just with these legends, they're just making them out to look like idiots. But anyway, we can rant about that forever.
Yes, that's not what we're here to do, but we could if we wanted to.
Yeah. So they had the damn contract signing, and it was all right. Not too bad. I will say this. I do. What the hell? I selected Goldberg, not Goldust. I'm playing some WWE 2K. I think. Did they list him as Bill Goldberg on here? Maybe they listed him as Bill Goldberg. I don't know where.
Times like this, I'm glad I still have a PlayStation 2. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he might be in Downloaded Superstars. Excuse me. But yeah, this contract segment kind of just spiraled out of control. Roman Reigns actually speared Braun Strowman through the barricade. They kind of sort of killed the guy as well in the process.
The security guard, yes.
Yeah, and then afterwards, Braun still got up, and then he threw Roman Reigns into the turnbuckle. The turnbuckle popped off. That was a great spot. And all I could think of after this was, Jesus Christmas, why in the blue hell are they putting Braun Strowman in a position to lose? Now, I don't mind this match. I don't mind this feud. I actually think it's been really good for Roman, and I think it's been really good for Braun. But I do think that this is not the time to defeat Braun the Strowman. I do not think it is the time. I hope they do some kind of DQ finish. Or better yet, even though I hate these distraction finishes, it would make sense here. Have Undertaker distract Roman Reigns, since Roman Reigns eliminated The Undertaker at Royal Rumble, and have Braun Strowman continue to stay undefeated.
I was just going to suggest that to you, and you beat me to it. It's going to be interesting to see if this match actually goes on as the main event or not.
It depends on the finish. If it has a decisive finish, or as decisive as it's going to be in today's WWE,
well, but
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, but the question is, do you use The Undertaker for a non-main event spot? Even though he's just going to stand there and do whatever, I don't see him coming out in the middle of the show to distract Roman. You know what I mean? That's
actually, you know what? You're right. If anything, it would be the main event. But at the same time, if Goldberg
says a whole lot about, Goldberg and...
Yeah, but at the same time, people are paying to see Goldberg, and they know what they get with Goldberg. And at the same time, too, you don't want to make Goldberg's title win, assuming he wins, since he promised 1,000 times he was going to win. You don't want to make
sure he's going to win.
Yeah, you don't want to make Goldberg's title win just mean less. I think it has to be the main event.
No, I guess one thing you could do is just have the music hit for The Undertaker and then not have him actually show up. That could cause a distraction. They could do a double DQ. They could easily do a double DQ in this, because it doesn't do anything for either person to lose, obviously. If you're going to have Roman go against Undertaker and Braun Strowman, who knows what they have in store for him. So it just doesn't make any sense to me why you would have either one of those guys lose.
Right. Well, the segment was good. I think they've booked Braun so well. They've booked him so well. I think they've booked him even better than Ryback in 2012. You know who they booked him like lately? They've booked him a lot like Mark Henry in 2011. If you remember, they gave Mark Henry a lot of these same simple spots that are effective. Putting a guy through a table, body slamming the Big Show, throwing a guy into a turnbuckle and it breaking. There was even a moment where Mark Henry, I think, just ran into Big Show, pushed him against a steel cage wall, and the wall broke and Big Show collapsed. And it was a light bump if you really think about it, but the crowd reacted like crazy, and it led to Mark Henry believably beating Randy Orton for the world title, and it was awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sometimes in wrestling, the most simple things can be the most effective if you do them right, and they've been doing right by Braun so far. We'll see what happens, but I don't.
He's coming a long way.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I've really liked him. I think he's lost a lot of weight. Well, he has lost a lot of weight. It's not what I think. He has lost a lot of weight. Yeah, he looks good. His in-ring work has gotten better. He's never going to be a Kevin Owens, that's for sure. But he is a guy that, like we saw in the Big Show match, where the crowd popped and chanted, "This is awesome." He's a guy that knows what he needs to do, when he needs to do it, and as long as they don't try to get too cute with him, like that big drop kick, don't get too cute with Braun.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, if you keep it simple, fans know what they're getting with him. They want Braun to destroy and do Braun things. That's it. As long as they keep it simple with him, make it effective, I think he could continue to get over. I really like Braun.
The only thing about that is every guy WWE's had in the last 15 years that's been the quote-unquote destroyer, not to use Samoa Joe's nickname there, but they burned out. Ryback did it. He burned out. Great Khali did it. He burned. Great Khali's a little different, but still, you know what I mean? So you show Braun Strowman being able to do actual wrestling moves. Maybe it shows a little different. It's a hybrid type of guy, and maybe it's more than just coming out a couple moves and that's it. So we'll see.
True. And I'll say this, though. Compared to Ryback, they did a lot better with the Great Khali. I mean, they at least gave Great Khali the title, and at least he was a draw for them in the Indian market. So.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
But, he was extremely limited.
God, yeah. And for those that say John Cena is not a great worker, he's overrated, I recommend this. Go back in 2007. Go to WWE Network. I think it was like Judgment Day 2007, which is in May 2007, and June 2007. John Cena had 2 pay-per-view matches with the Great Khali and carried him to the best matches of his career. That's all I got to say. If you ever want to know if John Cena is a great worker or not, watch those matches with Great Khali. That was just he was doing God's work with those matches. Seriously. So that leads us to our main event, which is currently playing right now on WWE 2K17, which is Goldberg and Kevin Owens.
Real quick question: why does Goldberg do the Diesel pose when he's getting introduced in that 2K17? I just noticed that he stuck his hand right up in the air, just like Diesel does.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm not the developer here. This is the official Goldberg character from 2K, so don't blame me.
It's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, but they've done a good job with Goldberg. Of course, he eliminated Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble after beating him at Survivor Series. He wanted a world title shot, and Chris Jericho answered Goldberg's challenge on behalf of Kevin Owens, which a few weeks later led to Kevin Owens, unfortunately, dismantling the BFFs, the Jericho dynasty.
In a great segment, though.
It was great. I mean, it was horrible at first because I didn't know where they were going, and then when you figured out, like, okay, Kevin Owens is eventually going to snap, it was great. And when he gave Chris Jericho a new list, and it said the list of KO, and Jericho was the last one to realize it and got beat up, and his face was put through the Jeritron 5000, or I guess now it's up to the 7000s by this point. Very reminiscent of Shawn Michaels and Jericho from 2008. Or even the barbershop window with Marty Jannetty. Yeah, and HBK, the original throw through glass segment. Oh man, it was great. And it's funny because now Kevin Owens is kind of emulating Chris Jericho from 2008. He's wearing the suit. He's talking very slowly, but he's making it his own. It's not like, no disrespect to Miz, but there's been times where in his career where Miz kind of ripped off Jericho a little bit with that voice. Where he talks like
John Cena talked about that on Tuesday night.
Exactly. And it's not just Miz. There's been other guys, I'm sure, that have talked like this. I think Cody Rhodes did that once. I mean, there's been a few guys where they literally, when they go heel, they take the 2008 Chris Jericho. And you can't do Chris Jericho better than Chris Jericho. But Kevin Owens made it his own and did his thing. It was a combination the week after he turned on Jericho of Eddie Guerrero after he turned on Rey Mysterio, because the way it was shot was very similar from back in 2005, and a combination of Jericho in 2008. And when you combine that with Kevin Owens' great wrestling instincts, because he is a great performer, I mean, you got money right there. Here's the problem. As much as I've enjoyed Jericho and Owens as a team, I really wish they made Kevin Owens be taken this seriously from the get-go.
Absolutely.
But, that's what happens when a 40-something-year-old man who only wrestles once a year in a suit pedigreed 3 dudes and literally handed you the title and didn't appear for 5 months. That's what happens. It's hard to take you seriously. I mean, as a heel, it's okay, I guess. But, I don't know. They leaned way too much on the comedy side with Owens. And I feel like, to some extent, it might be too little too late to take him seriously against Goldberg.
Yeah, they're trying to give credibility to that title now. Exactly. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, although I'll say this. Even from the beginning when Goldberg came back and he had that face-to-face with Kevin Owens didn't back down. So I thought that did a lot for his credibility, and I thought it was a nice change of pace. Because how often have we seen legends come back, or quote-unquote, big stars that WWE actually protects come back, and they make their current stars look so much lesser. It was nice to see a guy not back down. And Kevin Owens, what he's doing in this 2K17 match, is the same strategy he implied he was going to partake in on Sunday. He said that he's going to wait it out. He's going to survive Goldberg. Goldberg's going to gas, and he's eventually going to beat the legend that is Bill Goldberg and retain the Universal Championship. Now, personally, I think it's going to be short. I think it's going to be sweet, and I think it's going to be Goldberg getting his hand raised. I kind of want to see it, but don't want to see it, because on one hand, it'd be a great moment, and it gives the Universal title credibility it desperately needs. On the other hand, man, oh man, I know what's going to happen. Goldberg's going to win. Brock Lesnar's going to beat him, and Brock Lesnar's going to have the title on ice for several months. And I got nothing against Brock Lesnar. I got nothing against Brock Lesnar holding the title. What I have is against creative not knowing what to do while Lesnar's chilling for 3 months with the title. Kind of like what happened in 2014 going into 2015. If you remember, they didn't really do much with Brock Lesnar. He had a couple matches, and he did his thing, won the title. I think he had one match with John Cena where John Cena actually got the upper hand, but it was a DQ or something. And then he disappeared for months. And rather than showing video packages of Brock Lesnar training, of Brock Lesnar showing up at red carpets with the title. Just maybe just
Nothing.
even teaser packages. Paul Heyman coming out every week. Rather than do that, there was a period for at least I think a month or two where we literally heard nothing about Brock Lesnar. They didn't do any kind of rankings to see who's the number one contender, like a top 10. That would have been a perfect time to maybe legitimize, the sports approach a little bit more in WWE. But no. In fact, I don't even think they elevated the U.S. title during that time. Rusev was the champion at the time, but Rusev wasn't pushed as the top champion, even though he technically was by default. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even think Rusev was main event in house shows at that time. It was probably Roman and Seth.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, probably Roman, Seth, and Cena. So and in WWE 2K17, KO literally just retained the title, which I don't see happening. But
Brock Lesnar's the wild card. Keep that in mind,
yeah,
sir.
that's the thing.
Again, do you have Brock Lesnar screw Goldberg, and do you have Undertaker screw Roman on the same show?
Well,
Probably
I have a solution for you, my friend.
Oh, yes?
I have a solution for you, and this is something I've run by other people, and they happen to like this idea. So I would like your opinion and the audience's opinion. Okay?
Alrighty.
Here's my idea. Because if they go with the presumed plan between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar for the title, right? What's going to happen in the long run?
Well, eventually Roman's going to beat Brock for the title.
Which means we're going to have to wait until SummerSlam for them to try to get Roman Reigns over again.
Which will not happen.
Yeah. So if they're going to do that anyway, would you not want to get it out of the way right now? And here's how. You have Goldberg, Spear, Kevin Owens. Now, keep in mind, this is going to do nothing for Kevin Owens, okay, in terms of getting him over. Absolutely nothing.
Which is honestly irrelevant because he has a match with Jericho pretty much locked up. So
Exactly. So here is what's going to happen, okay? Or what I would do if I was booking. You have Goldberg spear Kevin Owens.
Mm-hmm.
You have Goldberg jackhammer Kevin Owens.
Mm-hmm.
So you give the fans the Goldberg entrance. You give them the moves. You give them all that jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get their money's worth. They see Goldberg kicking Kevin Owens' ass. Immediately after that, you have Brock Lesnar run in, suplex Goldberg, F5 him, take him out, whatever.
Now, how do you do that?
Hold up.
But the jackhammer goes right into the pin, so that's got to be really quick.
It will be quick.
Okay.
So, that's obviously a DQ for Goldberg. So, technically, Goldberg doesn't break his promise because he destroys Kevin Owens and he wins by DQ, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, afterwards, you get security out there. You get all these guys out there. They all usher Brock Lesnar away, right?
Okay.
You have Kevin Owens then cut a promo talking about how he finally ended the legend that's Goldberg.
This is all right after, during the match, right after the match, while the pay-per-view is still on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who's been disrespected as of late that we talked about? Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
Who I remind you is still the Raw general manager.
For now.
Do you know what you do?
Go on.
You get Mick Foley to come out, say, I'm tired of being disrespected. We are not going to end the night like this. Kevin Owens, you are going to still defend your WWE Universal Championship against this man. Dong. You hear Undertaker's gong.
Oh.
Undertaker appears in the ring. Chokeslams Kevin Owens. Gives him the tombstone. Maybe you could add a little more offense for Kevin Owens so he's not completely destroyed. Undertaker pins Kevin Owens to win the Universal Championship, setting up Undertaker versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, setting up Roman Reigns winning the title again at WrestleMania. And yes, I would not have Roman Reigns in that spot if I had complete control. But if I was hired tomorrow and I had an edict from Vince McMahon that said, "God damn, we're getting Roman Reigns over," I would rather do the coronation sooner rather than later and delaying the inevitable, which is boo and Roman
but
sucks.
if he beats Undertaker, he's not getting over. He's getting boo, Roman sucks.
But at least we'll get it out of the way, and maybe Vince McMahon will have a chance to sooner have an epiphany then rather than wait and drag it out till August.
Okay, so then in August you have Lesnar versus Reigns, and at that point I guess it doesn't matter what happens. That's interesting.
And who knows? Maybe it won't even be for the title because they'll realize, goddamn, we got to get the title off of Roman Reigns because people are booing. Or
Not if he's a heel.
Or you know what? Maybe, get this, what a novel concept, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally turn him heel.
I have a better one for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't say better because Owens has to be a heel, but why not have, like, Roman side with Triple H finally and say, you know what, I'm the guy, and be done with it. Make Owens I mean, you can't really make Owens a face at this point, but put him on SmackDown or whatever, who cares? I mean, I hate to say it about Kevin Owens like that, but have Roman be your mega heel with Triple H and Samoa Joe. There's your stable, and good luck with
you know
that.
what, though? That sounds more like a post-WrestleMania thing, or if anything...
Well, okay, it would be, though, because it's after WrestleMania, right? When he beats Undertaker.
That's true. I mean, if it wasn't Undertaker, who has very few matches left in him, I would say you could even do a thing where maybe Triple H, like, passes Roman the sledgehammer and uses it to beat the Undertaker, and then you do, like, a big Roman turn. But then it's also Triple H on their TV every day, and it's, you know, while Triple H has been great since he's been back on the mic, I don't need to see him on TV every week in 2017.
You see Stephanie, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Although Stephanie's a little bit easier to look at than Triple H, but, you know, I know what you mean. And then we have, you know, you do have the scenario of, instead of Undertaker, Chris Jericho returning and doing that. But to me, it's like, first of all, I think it's too soon.
Jericho's already U.S. champion, and as cool as that would be to have him go in as champion, what do you do with the U.S. title?
Well, maybe you'd put it on the line in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Maybe you do a ladder match.
Just but then he would have to forfeit the title.
And then defend the Universal title.
But you know
what though? You know what though? As cool as that would be for Jericho, because that's literally the only title he hasn't won in WWE, the Universal title, even though it's just an extension of the World title. The thing is this: he'd beat a guy that just got destroyed by Goldberg. And while you could say the same thing for the Undertaker,
it's like a cheap victory type thing.
At the same time, while you could say the same thing for the Undertaker has been booked significantly better than Chris Jericho has when it comes to wins and losses the last 5 or so years, or God knows how long.
Well, Undertaker's only had like 5 or so matches also.
Right, exactly.
Although, let's keep in mind also, this all hinges on, can Undertaker even go at WrestleMania, because we don't know that for a fact.
He's going to go. I think he's going to go, but I think Roman Reigns, put it this way, Roman Reigns, for all the people that say he's a great worker, I think he's a really good worker. I just don't like the character.
Can he carry Undertaker?
Can he carry Undertaker? And can he have a good match with Braun? Okay, these two matches coming up are going to be very important to the public perception, and I think even internal perception. I think the guy can go. And he's had a lot of good matches. Yeah, he's been with a lot of great workers. I think some people tend to overrate him a little too much, right? Where they say, oh my God, he's amazing. But you know what? He's a guy that's damn good in the ring. He's got good presence. It's just the character sucks. So
here's
So if he has a good match with Braun, and he has a good match with Undertaker at this stage, that's going to speak volumes.
What if he doesn't have a good match with Braun? And what I mean is, what if he loses and just gets destroyed? Totally destroyed. Okay?
It's not going to happen.
Hear me out, though. Hear me out. Hold on. This could get him over, maybe. He gets destroyed, and they still have, 6 weeks, 5 weeks till Mania, roughly?
No, it'd be 4 weeks. No, it's 4 weeks now, dude.
4 weeks. So, all right.
If they had more time, I see what you mean. March. Maybe you could rebuild them within a few weeks.
Well, you make him the pity roll for a week or two, challenge Undertaker, and beat him. Undertaker comes out and does this thing, because he could be a heel and a face. It really doesn't matter. And Roman's going to get booed no matter what. We know that. But you could almost have him build it up that way, to where maybe, you get the fans to think, well, this guy just lost to Braun. How's he going to beat The Undertaker at Mania? And he actually does it in possibly a really good match.
You know what though? They've done some good things with Roman as well, as far as the right things, and fans have still rejected it because they don't want to see him in that spot. And you got to remember too, a couple years ago, he was losing left and right. They were trying to do the Daniel Bryan approach to Roman Reigns, despite the fact he wrestles in a bulletproof vest. And guess what? It still failed.
They had him for a moment in Philadelphia in December of 2015, and they ruined it 2 weeks later. They had him. They had it.
Well, you know what though?
They had it.
It's not. Here's the thing. He got over that night, in large part because it was a really nice crowd, but also because of the fact that people didn't care for Sheamus. And on top of that, Vince McMahon. Yeah, Vince McMahon, one of the greatest heels of all time, played as the foil.
But it still worked. You still got him over. And then you booked him like crap. Instead of keeping Vince off TV, you booked it like crap. Everybody knew Triple H was going to come back at the Rumble and beat him, and they did it. And everybody knew.
But even before Triple H came out for that 2016 Rumble, Roman was getting booed like crazy. So
because the booking from that point in December till the Rumble was horrible.
I thought it was okay.
He had 2 weeks that was really good, and that was it.
You know what though? But I think it's also a case of maybe fool's gold. If you really think about it, it was a good reaction. And again, he's not a bad performer at all. He's a damn good performer. But he's a guy that
this isn't his fault. I mean, it's really not.
But you know what? But you know what though? Some people have it, some people don't. And I'm not saying he doesn't have it in terms of in the ring. And I'm not saying he's not a guy that's not capable of being a top guy. But I just think in this particular role as the top babyface, as a guy that you want to replace John Cena. When I say replace John Cena, I don't mean just replacing him in the main event. I mean from a business perspective, replacing him, right? He's not that guy.
No. Well, and the fact that he's been shoved down our throats for now, 2.5 years doesn't help. Give the guy some time off. Do this, do that with him, and maybe it works. But not in this case. They just continue to...
Well, I guess we see what? We see Braun not losing.
No, I can't see. Well, again, it depends what they're doing with Braun, I suppose.
And then Undertaker. You know what? Screw it. Here's what I think is going to happen. Even though I would like the scenario I laid out for Undertaker where he wins the title, here's what I see happening. Goldberg's going to beat Kevin Owens, and I see why did my mind blank out? I see Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns going to a non-finish. Now, that doesn't rule out Roman Reigns still pinning Braun Strowman before WrestleMania, which would absolutely suck and be a waste of Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman's feud. But you could literally save that match for down the road.
It would also suck to put Braun Strowman in the Andre Battle Royal, considering. But then you couldn't put him in a ladder match for the U.S. title.
No, I don't mind the Battle Royal as long as he wins. Or at least if it comes down to Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. That'd be a hell of a spectacle.
Well, I think our friend Jeremy Bauer said Big Show and Braun Part 2 and just have Big Show retire, but Show's contract's up in January, so...
But next February, I think, actually, he said.
Well, February, yeah, right before Mania, so...
And poor Big
I
Show.
don't think that's working. Yeah, he might not have his match with Shaq all of a sudden.
Yeah, Shaq on his Podcast One show said that he probably isn't going to do it, and that's not good.
Sounds like he's kind of scared about it a little bit, yeah, because Show is,
Show looks great. He lost weight. He got abs. Oh, man, it feels so bad for Big Show.
Maybe that's what they should do with Big Show. Him and Tony Nese should just have an ab off.
I think Big Show's got better abs than Tony Nese at this point.
He might. I don't know.
I think his abs alone have more charisma than Tony Nese.
Yeah, but still the greatest line of the year. Here comes Tony Nese's abs.
Yeah, from Austin Aries. And Austin Aries is a guy that could be coming up very soon.
Yeah, that's what we were gonna talk. As we spent almost an hour talking about two matches, but yeah, with Neville and Jack Gallagher, I think me and you both agree that Neville's gonna win, which sets up Aries and Neville at Mania. Is that pretty much agreed upon?
Or at least Aries coming back to the ring and then them doing maybe like a multi-man cruiserweight match, because I think they'd want to get all the guys on the show. Which I don't think you need to get all the guys on the show, but I could see them getting the guys on the show.
You think that would be your ladder match for the for WrestleMania then?
Actually, you know what? That would make sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Although Aries isn't one of those guys, is he?
He had a ladder match, I think, with Jeff Hardy a few years ago.
Yeah, I
And I
know,
think
but
that was really good. But then again, it's also with Jeff Hardy. I mean, I think Aries would be fine in any kind of match. He's a great worker. He really is.
absolutely,
You
sure.
know, and there's a part of me that thinks though that if they didn't have a cruiserweight division, he would be such a great enhancement to the top mix. Like he can talk, he can work. I know some people don't like his personality, but he's a
It's
guy
kind of
that he's got swagger. You know what I mean?
what's
He's got swagger.
speaking
though.
of which,
Jack Swagger. Speaking of which,
no
Jack
longer
Swagger,
with
former
WWE.
world champion that nobody remembers. He's a guy who I think was a little underrated at the end. You know, he became a pretty decent worker. He requested his release per Chael Sonnen's podcast. He did an interview with Chael Sonnen, former TSC News guest, and he said, "Yeah, I'm looking at different opportunities. It seems like the door is going to be still open for him to come back, but it sounds like he's going to do some indie wrestling, maybe try MMA. I think he's a little on the old side for MMA. You know, although you never know, a company like Bellator or Rising could definitely give him opportunity, and he might make decent money depending on the company. I mean, if it's Rising or Bellator, I'm sure they'd pay him
Remember when
an okay
they had
amount.
Jack Swagger as the big trade or the big free agent signing on SmackDown to go against Baron Corbin?
Oh yeah, that was just last
Oh,
year,
man.
late last year.
Not that long ago, yeah.
Yeah, man, times change. I do
I
think they
like
could.
Swagger. I think he was underrated.
I think they could have capitalized on him a while ago. They had some momentum with him. Yes, he got busted for weed right before WrestleMania 29, before he was supposed to possibly win the world title from Alberto Del Rio. But
Sure.
I do think that in 2013, weed.
You have to kind of look at things in a different perspective.
Yes, and but you know what? It's a double standard. I mean, look at Randy Orton. Randy Orton for years did a bunch of stupid stuff, and well, Randy. You know what though? Even Randy Orton got punished a few times. I remember Randy
Sure
Orton
did.
got caught smoking a joint backstage. This was back in I think like 06, 07, got suspended for a month or two. So, yeah, I don't know, man, but it was 2013. Weed had been decriminalized. I mean, I can see why they wouldn't have given him the title, but I would have liked to have had him get a run with it at least for a little while. And there have been guys that have driven drunk and still been pushed. You know, having weed in your car. I think there's.
Didn't that happen to one of the Usos just recently also?
Not
Well,
recently.
a couple years back, a couple years ago now.
A few years ago, when they were still pushed. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a double standard. You know.
Absolutely is.
Yeah, it's weird like that, but. Yeah, so yeah, they had an opportunity to push him, and look, I'll blame Swagger more than WWE for that not working out in 2013. But then, when Rusev was undefeated, they made Jack Swagger a babyface, and he got a huge reaction.
Yes, he did. That's right.
And he was a guy that at the time could have believably dethroned Rusev.
Sure.
And in my opinion, looking back, maybe he should have been that guy. Now, it worked out in the long run because John Cena won the U.S. title and elevated it and had a lot of great matches. But who's to say Rusev couldn't have won it back from Swagger eventually and then defended it against Cena? So they had a few times where they could have capitalized with him. Even when he won the Money in the Bank in 2010 at WrestleMania 26, here's a guy that, had they built him up for a year, built up the fact that he could cash in at any time, and when he finally cashes in, maybe he could have been a big star. But he literally won the briefcase. 2 nights later on SmackDown, cashed in. To like barely, well, he got a reaction that night, but after that, he was just pushed horrendously. I was even at a Raw where he lost to The Undertaker clean in a non-title match.
Yep.
So you wonder why he didn't get over? That's one of the reasons he didn't get over. Man. Anyway, let's go through the rest of this card. We have Sami Zayn and
hold
Samoa
on, real
Joe.
quick. I
Yeah.
got to see him and Sin Cara team up versus, Primo and Epico. So just wanted to mention that.
Spectacular.
And just think his chant did actually get over pretty organically.
People,
We the
yeah.
people. That really did.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Oh, well.
but
So,
moving on.
Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, which is currently going on right now in our 2K17 stream. I got Samoa Joe winning this one. Should be a good match. I would like
Could
to
be
see.
a good match, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see Sami Zayn in a bigger role. I don't see that happening. I see him being one of those guys that is really talented. The fans know he's talented, and I think he kind of, if his body holds up, he hangs around long enough where he eventually gets at least one pay-per-view main event and maybe an opportunity to. I don't know if he has the potential to be a Daniel Bryan type. He has all the talent in the world, but because of the way I think WWE views him, you know, he's a guy that can at least have a chance if he hangs around long enough to be the poor man's Daniel Bryan, which to me is a better position than he's in right now.
Well, he did have his one big win versus KO a couple months back, and like you said a couple minutes ago about Austin Aries, about being the good hand, the good worker. That's what Sami Zayn is now. He's the guy who he's pretty good on the mic, good work, great worker. Fans like him, but yeah, they just view him as he's kind of the bridge to the guy's next feud. You know what
He's
I
a
mean?
gatekeeper right now.
Exactly. Yep.
He's in that gatekeeper role, and he needs to be more in that contender role because he's a tremendous talent. But all things considered, if you look at it glass half full, he's still in a better position than guys like say Evan Bourne were in, or Neville when he first came up to the main roster. At least he's still in prominent matches. It's just he's not getting a whole lot of wins, and he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of consistency right now.
It's funny you say Evan Bourne. 3 years ago, when NXT had their first takeover, I told you Sami Zayn reminds me so much of Evan Bourne, and you laughed at me and shot me down. And 3 years later, here you go mentioning them two in the same sentence. I know different parts, but still.
True. Although I don't think Sami Zayn ever got caught with fake weed twice and killed his career.
I understand that. I'm just saying the example of the. I said it that night when he wrestled Cesaro. I said I'm looking at this guy, and I see Evan Bourne. And
the Evan Bourne
everybody
role.
just killed, and everybody killed me for it. And it's unfortunately looking like that's kind of what it's coming down to.
Although he's been pushed way more than Evan Bourne.
I was just gonna say yes. Sami has had some good wins. He had a couple of Raw wins. He beat Rusev clean on Raw, which I don't know what that really does for your career anymore, but whatever. So yeah, I mean he's there. He has a role. He has a push. He's not just another guy. But hey, whatever it is, it is.
Yeah. So we have Sasha Banks, Nia Jax. I got Nia winning that one. I don't think we really need to go over that. Gallows Anderson versus Enzo and Big Cass. This match is oh my god, this match is gonna be rough. I feel bad for Anderson and Gallows. Oh.
Yeah, is this the crowd has not been reacting favorably to Big Cass and mainly Enzo recently, and is this maybe the moment where they split them up? Is it possible?
I guess, but it would be a horrible idea because Enzo Amore is great on the mic and a horrible wrestler, and Big Cass as well. He's big.
Yeah, but the fans are starting to kind of turn on him a little bit. I mean,
the material sucks.
Wow, still, when you're getting "Thank You, Sheamus" chants in 2017,
I think that's the first time Sheamus has ever gotten like a real babyface reaction.
That's what I'm saying. And
at least in 5 years.
And these guys were hot a year ago, not 6 months ago. And I would think that they were going to win the titles at Mania in some type of fatal 4-way or something. But at this point, I'm not sure.
I don't know, but Big Cass has not looked good in the ring. And Enzo Amore is not very good in the ring. I don't mind making Enzo Amore the next Santino Marella. That's fine. I think he's while I think there's too much comedy in wrestling, he's talented enough where he can make it work like Santino did. But as far as the fate of Big Cass, that's the thing. The fate of Big Cass, who they have a lot of high hopes for. Whew, not looking good.
How's about you take Tom Phillips and David Otunga off of SmackDown announcing, and you just make Enzo the announcer along with Morrow and JBL? How great would that be?
That'd be horrible.
No, come on. JBL
Enzo
and Enzo,
Amore,
oh
JBL,
God.
and Mauro Ranallo's horrible analogies. My God, that would suck.
Just JBL and Enzo going back and forth, though. Come on.
Oh, my God. No, stop it.
See, that's why. But it got. You see where I'm going with that. Anyway.
Ugh. Yeah, you're just being facetious, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's
fun to be.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it. So I got Gallows and Anderson retaining the titles.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. They only have, I think, 5 announced matches on this card.
No, they have more. Oh, they have the kickoff match with.
Not counting the kickoff match. I mean.
Yeah, with the cruiserweights. Let's see what that is. They have.
It's Rich Swann and.
Akira Tozawa against Brian Kendrick and Noam Dar. That doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
The Cruiserweight division, unfortunately, does not matter at this point. And that's
although 205 Live's been pretty decent, but it's just
the last 2 weeks I haven't watched. So
it's too much content. Yeah, I don't think it's very very watched on the network either, which is kind of sad because those guys bust their asses.
Okay. Well, I just haven't done it. Just my work schedule is just the way it is.
Yeah, people have lives. There's stuff to do.
Catch up with NXT. And
people watch basketball too. People watch shows. People have families like you. We have jobs. I mean,
it's tough.
Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, Bayley versus Charlotte Flair. As stupid as it was to give Bayley the title on Raw when she could have won it at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be kind of stupid to give Charlotte Flair the title for, what is it, the fifth time?
They don't have to. If they're going to do some type of fatal 4-way, you could have interference from Nia.
You could, but then you'd have possibly interference in the Universal title match, possibly interference or a schmaz finish in the Reigns
But you know,
match.
it doesn't matter at this point. Every match could have that. It doesn't matter.
I think
it
you
doesn't
want
matter at this point.
You know what? I think you want a little bit of goodwill heading into WrestleMania. I'm just saying. You know, just look at last year. Last year you had a really good Fastlane main event, and you had also a roadblock with Triple H and Dean Ambrose having a great match. I think you want a little bit of goodwill with your fans leading into the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
I agree with you, but this is WWE and Vince McMahon we're talking about, and to them, you know, I think they're thinking, well, if we do this, we can have them on the hook for Mania when they get the big blow-off finish.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Charlotte's just going to beat Bayley, and then maybe Bayley wins at WrestleMania, which is still cool.
Which does nothing at this point.
No, it'll still be a big deal, but you know what would have been a bigger deal if when Stephanie McMahon asked her to hand the title because Sasha helped her win it. I think that would have been better because it would have stayed true to the Bayley character, and that way at least she could win it quote unquote fair and square in the Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah.
And then she'd go on to San Jose in the next pay-per-view, which I think is Extreme Rules after that, and she could defend the title in her hometown.
So basically, you're going to have Charlotte lose the title to Bayley at Extreme Rules in San Jose, and that'll be that. So,
yeah.
Poor Dana Brooke. She was scheduled to have a match with Charlotte at WrestleMania, and now it's not going to happen.
Well, she wasn't scheduled. It was talked about. I mean, it was
talked
back.
about. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were so high on her. They wanted to make her the female Roman Reigns, and yeah, she went off on Twitter because. I think it was like Total Divas GIFs, the popular Twitter account that does a lot of these funny GIFs. They did a GIF of Dana Brooke messing up tripping Bayley on Raw. She was supposed to trip Bayley when Bayley and Sasha were teaming up against Charlotte and Nia Jax.
I missed it.
And she messed up. She had a delayed reaction, kind of like her delay in running down the ramp the week before where she was jogging.
That was so weird.
Jogging. Now, look, maybe she's auditioning for the sequel to The Rock's Baywatch film, and Lord knows Dana Brooke would be more than qualified from an aesthetic perspective for Baywatch. But my God, she was just jogging, okay? Jogging. And then, of course, a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago at this point, we had that match where she wrestled Bayley, and she was supposed to get her foot on the ropes, but she didn't get her foot on the ropes or something, and the referee still counted 3. Yeah. She's had so many botches, and meanwhile she's going off and saying, "Oh, it was a mistake," and blah blah. Listen, Dana Brooke seems like a nice girl. I'm sure she works hard, but right now, she's not very good in the ring. Right now, she has been unbelievably exposed compared to her time in NXT, which was pretty good. And what she needs to do is stop tweeting and start trying a little bit more. Start practicing a little bit more.
They need to put her back in NXT. That's what they need to do.
They should. Yeah, poor Emma got dumped in NXT, although it reinvented her career. Why not put freaking Dana in NXT? Well,
you see what it did for Emma now. Well, she got hurt when she came up, but yeah.
Yeah, poor Emma. She comes back as Emmalina a few weeks ago, and then she says now it's time for the makeover back to Emma, and she hasn't been on TV since. This poor girl.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Now, see, Dana's good in that bodyguard type of role, which is what she was doing with Emma. No.
You know why?
With Emma, she was, though.
Because she
didn't have to do nothing.
But that's not a bodyguard. You lose.
No, but before she was with Charlotte, she was with Emma as that type of bodyguard.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I meant, not the Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
No, the Emma.
Because right now what she's doing is Tamina Snuka cosplay, where she's essentially taking the place of Tamina Snuka when Tamina was AJ Lee's bodyguard. But Tamina was the worst bodyguard of all time because she'd always lose and get beat up.
Yeah, that's
the same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't work when that happens.
It doesn't. But I got Charlotte regaining the title for the 5th time. Ridiculous. Scott, what do you see it happening?
No, I agree. It's a shame that that's what they're doing with this title, but it's what's going to happen.
True that. All right. Well, before we go, let's quickly go over anything else that stood out this week. Was there anything else on Raw that stood out for you before we move on to SmackDown? Besides how horrible the New Day segment was, where they tried to do the
the
Oscar
Oscars,
spoof,
yeah.
and Green Bay reacted with silence.
Oh yeah, that wasn't really very good. The New Day, they are what they are, and
They're the
it's
WrestleMania
cute.
hosts.
Which I mean, they have nothing else for these guys. What are you going to do with them? It's an interesting scenario, but yeah, I mean, you might as well. Look, they put Titus O'Neil back on the show and tried to make him look credible for like 8 seconds, and that didn't work. And Sheamus is kind of like a face now, and Cesaro's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Samoa Joe's talking about him, and Sheamus wants to stand up for his friend or his partner, and Sheamus is, no, I got it. So it's just Raw is just such an odd show.
Yeah, SmackDown makes the most out of all its roster, and Raw doesn't, even though it's technically sort of booked by the same guy. I mean, I know they have, I think Road Dogg is the main writer of SmackDown, but still, you have the same two guys, Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon, producing it, along with Triple H. And Raw is just, oh man, Raw is just so much more different, and not.
And it's not even the 3 hours, because you could make 1 hour of Raw awesome, and you don't even do it. You have a moment here, a moment there, but that's it. SmackDown is really, for the most part, really good from start to finish.
I agree, and as far as the Raw results, I mean, this is what we got. We got the New Day beating Rusev and Jinder Mahal. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We had Akira Tozawa beating Noam Dar. This was all right. And then it had Brian Kendrick call Tozawa names and walk away.
Wearing Tyler Breeze's tights, yeah.
Yeah. We had Charlotte and Nia beat Bayley and Sasha. We had the contract signing with Strowman and Reigns. We had Big Cass beat Luke Gallows in a nothing match. Sheamus destroyed Titus O'Neil. That did wonders for Titus. How can we forget? Seth Rollins came back.
He
in
did,
crutches,
yes.
on crutches, I should say, and said that he's not sure what's going to happen for WrestleMania, if he's going to be available. And the funny thing was, he was saying, oh, maybe I deserve this, riding with Triple H all these years and aligning myself with the Authority. And the crowd responded by chanting CM Punk
to
it was Seth horrible. Rollins. This poor guy.
It was bad, yeah. Well, they tried to. It didn't last, but yeah.
This poor guy.
Wasn't good.
But he got jeered by the crowd.
It affected him. You could see it affect him.
Man, and on one hand, I was pissed at the crowd. On the other hand, WWE has done such a horrendous job with Seth Rollins since he's become a babyface. Since he came back last year, they've done such a horrendous job with this guy. And then Triple H came out.
But the crowd didn't even react to that.
No, I thought they reacted to Triple H pretty well. I thought they reacted to Triple H like a babyface.
And I didn't even hear any reaction.
And Samoa Joe just kind of disappeared. Well, not disappeared. He appeared out of nowhere.
Was that? Yeah.
Yeah, from behind, kind of like one of those like secret agents, those hitmen. And Triple H said, if you come to WrestleMania, Seth, it will be the last thing you do in a WWE ring. And then Seth said, I will be at WrestleMania if it's the last thing you do.
Which I guess if Seth can't compete, they're going to put Finn Balor in that role.
Or no, maybe they do or maybe they just do a big brawl, big schmaz, and like in the middle of the show, and then they do the match at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, I find it interesting that WWE Shop all of a sudden is selling Finn Balor jackets just out of nowhere randomly.
Well, he is set to come back soon, and I think he's gonna have a role at WrestleMania.
But don't they usually wait until the guy actually is back before they do it? Whatever. Either way.
Whatever. We had Big Show destroy the Shining Stars.
Because that, makes sense.
We had Jack Gallagher and T.J. Perkins beat Neville and Tony Nese when Neville abandoned Tony Nese. This match was no good. And, we had the Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman contract signing. On the flip side, SmackDown was awesome. We had the opening segment with Miz and John Cena. It was Miz TV. Miz was accompanied by Maurice. And John Cena was about to cut his promo, kind of ask why the hell he's here. But Miz cut the mic off. And Miz proceeded to lay into John Cena for the better part of almost 10 minutes. Talking about how he held people down, how he manipulated, how he's barely here, how he's a hypocrite for criticizing The Rock. And then going Hollywood. He said that he's been miserable for 10 years and he's been working hard and he doesn't get the same opportunities and blah, blah, blah. And Miz delivered this way better than I did.
But he also said that he's been here and he's the one on the red carpets or something to that effect, even though he's taking time off to do movies as well. So
True. Actually, yeah,
which,
I didn't even think about the movie part. That is true. He has taken time off, and so John Cena responds and just lays into the Miz. This is
great
great.
promo.
Oh my God, John Cena has gotten better with age in promos. He seriously has. It's unbelievable.
When he wants to be and when they let him.
Yes.
When he's not goofy John Cena, he is tremendous.
He said Miz sounds like every other guy. He says that nothing's guaranteed. You have to earn it. He had a great line, a closing line that said, you're not the Undertaker, but if you cross me again, you will be a dead man. Just go out of your way to watch this promo. There were so many good lines, so much straight fire in this promo. This whole segment was like 20 minutes long. Go back,
Worth
watch
every minute.
it. Yeah, go back, watch it. I think it's the full segment's on YouTube. It was great. And then afterwards, John Cena was about to leave. Maurice slapped him, said, you don't talk to my husband like that, blah, blah, blah. And then John Cena said, you just made the biggest mistake. And Nikki Bella's music hit. John Cena's real-life girlfriend, his longtime girlfriend. She ran out. Maurice and Miz left the ring at the sight of Nikki Bella. And then Nikki Bella said, you put your hands on my man again, I'm going to break you, bitch. Crowd popped huge. John Cena and Nikki Bella kissed. It was great. I love this. I was not excited for this mixed tag WrestleMania match at first. I am now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, it's kind of funny how John doesn't come to Nikki's aid when, she needs help. But yet, the second John needs help, she comes running out, which the opposite of what Dana Brooke did a couple weeks ago, because to me it seemed like it took Nikki about 10 minutes to get to the ring. And, but whatever. It was a great segment. I mean, it was one of the best things WWE's done in a long time.
Yeah,
really
the best opening segment in a long freaking time. It was to the point. It was great. I loved it. And then this set up a backstage segment where Carmella and James Ellsworth were challenged to a mixed tag. So we're going to get Carmella and James Ellsworth against Cena and Nikki next week on SmackDown.
Do not talk about James Ellsworth's boo like that. And that's what happened, because that's what he calls her.
Yeah.
It's my boo, my girlfriend.
Girl. Yeah.
My friend that's a girl. Oh, my God.
We had Becky Lynch beat Mickie James in a 2 out of 3 falls match, which I got to say was a little disappointing given who was involved. I wasn't feeling this match too much.
The finish I thought was nice, but...
It was a disarmer, right?
Yeah, but it was just how she, kind of turned it into the disarmer. Alexa Bliss came out, caused a distraction. But, yeah, it was okay. I didn't see the match going that long, and it did have 2 commercial breaks, so I was kind of surprised at that.
It was nice they got time. I just, for whatever reason, I felt like something was missing a little bit. We had AJ Styles beat Luke Harper to become the #1 contender for Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, or so we thought, because...
In a very odd match.
Yeah.
Very odd finish.
Yeah, AJ hit the phenomenal forearm and got the pin, but Luke Harper had his foot on the rope. Shane McMahon restarted the match. Luke Harper went to super kick AJ on the outside, but AJ moved and it hit Shane McMahon, which I guess sets up their WrestleMania match. Oh, boy. And then afterwards, AJ kind of laid into Luke Harper in the ring. Luke Harper, who used to be a man with no remorse, had remorse and was stunned at what he did to poor Shane McMahon, and then he ate a 450 splash. AJ won, had some words for Shane, and walked away.
And that was that.
And although he was not very happy.
And keep in mind that the build-up, and obviously we now know why, but this match came on at the top of the hour, which everybody thought, so Dolph Ziggler and Apollo Crews in a chairs match is your main event. So, it was just an interesting way they did it. Of course, at the end we know why, but it was a goofy match. It was a goofy finish. You want to have the Wyatt family in the triple threat, and I guess they still could do that somehow.
But man, Luke Harper's taking way too many losses. I think I would have liked to have seen a triple threat, but yeah, it's. I mean, hey, it's still nice to see Harper in his position, but I was hoping for a Wyatt triple threat. We had Ambrose call out Baron Corbin. Didn't happen.
He had a scheduled match, which with Kurt Hawkins, and he just came out and hit the DDT on him, and that was that.
Yeah.
So I guess technically Kurt Hawkins won the match by DQ, maybe.
I guess, I don't know, but he called
according
out
to
Baron
his Twitter,
Corbin.
He did, just for the record.
He called out Baron Corbin, and then Corbin cut a backstage promo and said, Dean, I'm gonna make you pay, because you eliminated me at Elimination Chamber and blah blah, and all that jazz. And then we had Dolph Ziggler beat Apollo Crews in a chairs match.
Which wasn't bad.
Wasn't bad, but it's Dolph Ziggler.
It's Apollo Crews, yeah.
And then lastly, we had Bray Wyatt celebrating his title win yet again. And he talked about Randy, who belongs to him. And then we saw a video.
Out of nowhere.
A video of Randy Orton at the Wyatt compound where Sister Abigail was buried.
So now we know the truth about Sister Abigail, yes.
And he said that he's going to lay waste to Bray Wyatt. He's going to take the WWE title. And he lit a match. This was so hokey.
Hold on, it gets worse, but go ahead.
I like this, but in a weird way. I liked it for all the wrong reasons. It was so bad it was good. So we had Randy light this match. And Bray's like, Randy, no.
No, Randy, please, no.
And Randy puts the match down. And, of course, you get the special movie effects where the flames just magically appear.
Well, no, he did throw the gasoline.
The Wyatt compound and Sister Abigail's remains burned straight to hell. And Bray was going crazy. He's losing his mind. And Randy Orton then does the greatest thing of all time.
The Randy Orton pose.
As he's committing arson on live television, burning the remains of Sister Abigail, he poses with his signature Randy Orton pose with his back to the camera, and the crowd cheered.
Well, hold on. First and foremost, let's clarify this. There was
Somebody's
no actual
been studying
body.
the Matt Hardy tapes.
There was no actual body, so it's not like you saw him burning something wrapped up in a blanket, mind you. The story is that she was underneath the wood. Let's just clarify this. It's not like it was Katie Vick, okay? Yeah, I went there.
Man, this is just I don't know. It was so hokey and silly, but it worked.
Bad though. It wasn't
worked.
bad. Yeah.
It worked. You know why it worked? Because it looked like Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt are genuinely into these characters and the storyline that they're in right now.
Well, what Randy said was, yeah, he was waiting for his time. But, as he's pouring gasoline all over the compound, and as he pulls the match out and lights it, you can clearly see on Randy's hand is covered in liquid, which if it's gasoline, more than likely he's going to light himself on fire. So let's just keep this in mind.
And then Daniel Bryan had the line of the night with Talking Smack. He said he joined the Wyatt family. He said he didn't believe in anything that they preached, but he never had the desire to commit arson. No. So he said they have to evaluate things, which obviously made AJ Styles unhappy. But yeah, that's how SmackDown ended, with Randy Orton posing in front of the burning Wyatt compound.
In reality,
hang on,
so dark, it is worth going back to watch.
It's ridiculous. And you know what's funny? It is such a great photo of Randy Orton posing that it is now my cover photo on Twitter, @FredRicciani.
It's a great photo. It wasn't PG, but it was very well done for being PG. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Jeremy Bowers, our friend, on is this a double turn now? Is Bray a face? Is Randy a heel? I don't think they know.
In real life, Randy should be the biggest a-hole of all time. But in WWE land,
this isn't he's the greatest, most celebrated person ever.
Yes.
This would have worked better if Luke Harper and Eric Rowan were still with Bray Wyatt, because then he took out the whole family. Now all he did was just kind of, destroy Bray. So does this mean Bray comes out now on SmackDown like dressed in all black, mourning Sister Abigail, or
maybe,
or even worse, Fred? Because there have been rumors for a while now that a Sister Abigail character could show up.
You know what? We've heard it for 3 years. We've heard it for 3 years.
And now that she's been burned a lot, her soul and body have been burned. Are they going to do something with Kane where, she was burned in a fire and is wearing a mask and is disfigured?
Dude, Sister Abigail, that rumor has been around for 4 years now.
I understand that.
I will believe it when I see it. Although, you know what?
They can't do it now.
Guess what? Guess what? Since everybody is leaving TNA anyway, for those that don't know, the Hardys left TNA, Drew Galloway, McIntyre left TNA, Mike Bennett and Maria left TNA. You know what? Who's to say that Rosemary of the Decay, who's an awesome performer who plays this weird thingy that would be a Sister Abigail type character anyway, who's to say they wouldn't just sign her and make her Sister Abigail?
Well, she's not officially released yet, though, is she?
No, but
So
I guess TNA right now is looking to pay slightly above poverty wages to their workers because a lot of the guys and girls are just leaving left and right. Oh, they even dumped Mia Yim, aka Jade, who's become an awesome performer and was really good on the indies for a long time before she got to TNA. The girl's only like 27, 28 years old, and they cut her because allegedly they want to go younger. So then they sign a dude that's 34 and 31. And no disrespect to any of the dudes that they signed that are looking for opportunities. I think it's great that newer guys are getting opportunities too, but I mean, I don't know. TNA's long story short, this is another video blog for another day, but TNA is in some rough shape right now. At least when it comes to talent. I mean, their parent
but they
company's
do
got
have,
money.
they do have Dutch Mantel booking again, so we'll see.
Yeah, and Dutch Mantel, mentor of mine, great guy. I love the guy. But the bottom line is, you need talent if you want to run house shows, if you want to do anything. I mean, you need talent, and they had guys in the Hardys and in Drew Galloway who were big draws on the indies that would help put some butts in seats. And unfortunately,
Within 50, yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately now they're gone. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in regards to the Hardys. Are they gonna return to WWE, even though they didn't seem to want to do a full-time schedule? And I don't blame them, considering they're both recovering addicts. We'll see. But
Well,
it
the
would be nice
breakup
to
with
see
the Hardys in TNA that was very ugly. Let's keep this in mind as well. They are the current tag champs. They don't. It was uglier than just we're not re-signing.
And oh yeah, by the way, they're still the freaking tag team champions.
And rumor has it that they offered to lose the titles on TV, and Anthem said no, thank you.
Yeah, because Anthem wanted to sign him to a short-term contract. That was per Pro Wrestling Sheet and Ryan Satan who reported that. And yeah, Hardys wanted to do business the right way, and TNA didn't. So I don't know. I have faith. Look, I have faith in Dutch Mantel. He was one of my mentors early in my career. Great guy, but I mean, he's not the one really running the show. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the parent company, and I have a feeling that Jeff Jarrett wanted to keep a lot of the people there, and I'm not absolving Jeff Jarrett of all blame, obviously, because he's in a top position there right now. But as far as like the Hardys and Galloway, who could actually make a difference, I have a feeling that he didn't want to lose the Hardys and Drew Galloway. And on top of that, they just announced that they re-signed Bruce Pritchard, who used to work in WWE as Brother Love and in a backstage role. He was one of Vince McMahon's right-hand men for many
Apparently,
years.
he's going to be an on-air talent as well.
Which is hilarious because he had a number of roles back in 2012, 2013 for TNA. And he was pretty horrible. Not saying Bruce Pritchard doesn't know anything about wrestling. He's obviously got a very popular wrestling podcast. Maybe he was just in over his head because he was given so many jobs to do. But I recalled one of the highlights of his TNA career, or lowlights, I should say, being him conveniently forgetting to re-sign Bobby Roode and not realizing his contract expired. So, assuming he's not dealing with contracts and it's just on the wrestling side of things, might be fine, But the idea that you get rid of your top talent in TNA, who are draws on the indie scene, and you bring in Bruce Pritchard and a few unknown guys, not a good look right now PR-wise for TNA. I hope they do all right, but, they got. I mean, it's the same. I don't want to spend forever on this. We got to go, but at the end of the day, if the goal is to stay on a network that's low rated, that's not going to pay much or not really paying anything at all, you might as well shut down. I mean, seriously. And if you're going to be paying most people, or at least like younger talent or lesser known talent, poverty wages. I mean, okay, there's probably guys like Bobby Lashley and James Storm who are making better money. I mean, what's the point, right? So we could be seeing a lot of those guys in WWE and girls in WWE very soon. Who knows?
Why not? It's not like they don't have enough content to fill anyway. So.
Exactly. So on that note, Scott, if you don't have anything else, I think that's it for us tonight.
Yeah, I think we ended it good with Randy Orton posing, with his back turned to the camera, looking at a house on fire or a barn on fire.
That is
committing
such
arson
a
on
great
live
picture.
TV. Yeah,
that is such a great picture.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? Before we go, hang on. Let me see if I can find this picture. I think I'm gonna sign off with this picture on YouTube. I'm just gonna enlarge it.
Well then, while you're looking that up, I have some filler. So,
okay, go ahead.
As we call this in the business, as we're talking about TNA or Impact, as they're going to officially, I guess, go by, Jeff Jarrett does have, Global Force Wrestling, and I would assume some of those talents are under some type of deal. I don't know all the details, so maybe that's where Impact gets a lot of their talent, with Jeff Jarrett. And we
Global
talked all
Force
fair about
Wrestling
Pro
is
Wrestling Noah. It's
yeah.
not a real wrestling. I understand Jeff Jarrett uses it to sell gold on infomercials at 2 a.m. But still, there's got to be
It gave him
something
some
there.
contacts that he can call and say, hey, do you want to work for no money on our show that's not getting ratings? And look, TNA's got a lot of good talent, or did have a lot of good talent, and I have friends
At one
that
time,
stood
I
there.
think they had more talent, better talent than WWE. At one time.
Debatable, but they had talent that you could at least say like could match up against WWE's best. But that's been 11, 12 years, dude. And ironically
I would
enough,
say 5-6 years.
Dude, I'd say
It went downhill from there when they had Bound for Glory with Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries. From that moment on, it went downhill.
Dude, as far as like equivalent talent, I mean, here's when they had almost equivalent talent to WWE. I wouldn't even say it's equivalent, but it was at least like comparable, right? At least in terms of young talent. 2005. Look at the guys that are on top right now in WWE: AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode. Austin Aries is going to be in the top mix of the Cruiserweight division. Who else? I'm probably forgetting another guy from TNA. There's a few guys there. But whatever. Regardless.
Well,
okay?
Kevin Owens wasn't there.
Well, Kevin Owens was in.
No, he was Ring of Honor. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I don't know. It's a mess. Anyway, to represent the state of the Raw brand, and to represent the state of TNA, and to represent how stoic and awesome SmackDown is compared to all the other wrestling brands out there. SmackDown is Randy Orton posing. The fire, the burning ashes of Sister Abigail are also the remnants of Raw, and especially Impact Wrestling. So, with that being said, folks, we're going to get on out of here. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like, or this podcast if you're listening on SoundCloud and iTunes. Please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. And please don't forget to subscribe because we have exclusive interviews with all your favorite stars. We recap a number of shows in pro wrestling and MMA. And I got some big news coming up I will reveal. Eventually, I can't reveal it yet, but good news for TSC coming up. Until next time, everybody, stay tuned for our Fastlane live recap coming up this Sunday night. Until then, as always, enjoy the match.